a story that we're following closely for you is about the Electricity Minister, Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, who's just updated the country on the implementation of the Energy Action Plan that was originally outlined by the President, Matamela Ramaphosa, sometime last year. Now, listening to that very intently and also having an opportunity to ask a few questions was Aviwe Mtila, our senior reporter. He's back with me now in studio. Aviwe, good afternoon. You were there listening intently throughout that briefing that also included a couple of Eskom employees, a number of key questions. But I heard you ask one of the most important ones that will be asked by every business and every household in South Africa. How bad is this winter going to be in terms of load shedding?
No clear answer to that, Bradan, but what is very clear is that it's going to be a cold winter. Already we were told there that 3 units are out, which all compass, each one of those units encompasses of some 120 megawatts. So that's some 400 plus megawatts that's off the grid already, mentioned the Minister of Electricity. So already that's not looking too shaky. When you look at the energy availability factor, also, we stand at some 56.3%, and they're hoping that by December they'll up that energy availability factor to 60%. But the norm across the world is at least 85% plus. So we still have a huge surplus in terms of where we want to be and what we're just aiming for December at that 60%. In fact, let's take a listen to the Minister of Electricity as he tried to explain what we can expect during the winter season.
We know that we're entering the winter period. The expected increase will be anything from 32,000 megawatts to 37,000 megawatts. So we have to do something in the short term to ensure that we provide some degree of relief. What are we doing now to address, if you like, the winter situation? Just to lift a few, the first one is the work on improving the energy availability factor, if you like, the efficiency of the Eskom power station is continuous. And we think confident that we're going to begin to see these improvements. I mean, Becky and the team, supported by the Eskom board, had set a target of 60% EAF. Of course, that was undermined by the failure of those 3 units at Kgosientsho. We continue to ensure that we undertake substantial maintenance. And we did that during the summer period. And we had seen temporarily some improvement in the 6 power stations. We really want to maintain that.
Yeah, so the minister there, Aviwe, mentioning Kgosientsho. I also heard Mr. Numalo from Eskom mention Kgosientsho and saying it's like a hamstring. It's hamstringing the whole thing. And on top of that, we know there's so many other generating units that are always breaking down and robbing the grid of thousands and thousands of megawatts. But there's an issue of possibly using battery storage for base load support.
Well, they're trying to navigate into even renewable energies in terms of just mitigating the loss that we need and actually the energy that we need. But this is an action plan, energy action plan that was, of course, delivered by the president back in July last year. It's almost a year later, and the reality is that we are on escalating stages of load shedding. In fact, it's not the first time such a plan was mentioned. I remember in the 2019 State of the Nation address where a 9-point plan was mentioned, Bradan. In fact, later on in that year in December is the first time where we actually met with stage 6 load shedding. The president had to come from abroad to try and tackle that. You ask yourself what's been happening in the last number of years. Some 4 years later, we're still battling with high levels of load shedding with no clear direction as to when we'll see the end of it. In fact, let's take a listen to the minister when he speaks of some of the generations that we can expect to help mitigate this issue of load shedding.
One of the lessons that we have learned from the bid windows is the need for us to expand and strengthen grid capacity and to match, if you like, the location of this renewable energy project to areas that have got grid capacity so that we are able to evacuate the electrons as and when they are available. So that's a lesson we've drawn from those bid windows, and we find that there's going to be an elegant exercise of matching of these projects with grid capacity. We're going out now, proposals are due in response to the battery storage request for proposal. This should be early by 2023, which is likely going to give us a further 513 megawatts. So battery storage, very important in ensuring that the excess capacity that we generate from renewables gets to charge the batteries, give us storage capacity as and when we reach the peaks, when some of the solar PVs are not available, we draw the energy from battery storage, and in that way we should be able to mitigate against load shedding. And then Eskom is finalizing contracting close to 400 megawatts of energy through the standard offer and emergency generating programs, and with the 100 megawatts already added to the grid from Kelvin Power Station in Joburg.
That's Electricity Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa there.